the rise of the machines is finally on hand. I think I've been waiting for this moment since 1991 when I first saw Terminator 2 as a kid. Since even before then, we've seen tale after tale about an eventual takeover by machines or cyborgs and discuss what this could mean for society. ChatGPT might be one of the first pieces of artificial intelligence that has truly shook the cultural zeitgeist. But rather than discuss what the broader societal implications of ChatGPT might be, in today's podcast we'll discuss how compliance practitioners can utilize the application to manage risk. We'll start off by discussing a bit about what ChatGPT is and how it can be used. Next, we'll discuss some compliance use cases for the application. I've run several use cases through ChatGPT myself to test its utility, and this will help shed light on how effective the application is in managing use cases, at least in its current form. And third, we'll discuss what the future of ChatGPT is for the compliance and risk management industry. My name is Varun Chandrasekharan, a veteran of the compliance industry. Welcome to the third episode of Ethical Crossroads, How Compliance Officers Can Use ChatGPT. So what is ChatGPT? From a technical perspective, ChatGPT is a language application that uses various forms of machine learning, such as statistics, reinforced and supervised training, to index information and provide results upon command. From a practical perspective, users input questions, requests, or commands into ChatGPT, and the application provides responses. Since ChatGPT's output relies on the quality of the indexed information it has access to, it's essential for the application to reference high-quality domain data. ChatGPT was developed by OpenAI, an artificial intelligence research company, which has been funded by various big-name leaders in the tech industry, most notably Microsoft. Anyone can utilize ChatGPT. All you need to do is visit their website and you can create login credentials to access the application for free. Now, let's get to our most pressing questions and see how ChatGPT can be used by compliance professionals. Rather than discuss this question in a theoretical way, I've run actual compliance use cases through OpenAI to get an idea of how effective the application is in managing and delivering on that use case. These examples are by no means an exhaustive answer on the effectiveness or practicality of ChatGPT, since the application is still in its early stages. It's constantly being further developed and also relies on proper and accurate instructive inputs from the user. The first use case I ran through ChatGPT is to see how effectively the application could draft a code of conduct. While most companies have some form of code in place, I wanted to see how comprehensive its code of conduct output would be, given that the application has access to numerous codes and code templates across the internet to draw from. What impressed me most, given that this was my first use case, was how quickly ChatGPT returned a sample document. We're talking literally seconds here, so here's a little bit about what I received. The code document included an introductory statement with most of the boilerplate language we see at the start of every code, such as a statement indicating that the company provides a safe environment for all individuals, maintains respect for basic employee rights, and expects the same of employees to each other, and that the company does not tolerate harassment. Impressively, the code also included the following statements: encouragement to employees to speak up, a promise of non-retaliation, a brief statement on consequences for violation of the code, and a certification line for employees to attest to the code. Now, what the code document lacked was specificity, such as clauses related to applicability. For example, which group companies does the code apply to, and does the code apply to contractors, vendors, and other external or part-time resources? Coverage of key risk areas on applicable topics such as anti-corruption, privacy, health and safety, conflicts of interest, and so on. These were all lacking. And examples of ethical dilemmas and advice on what steps employees could take to respond to such scenarios. Ultimately, what ChatGPT was able to generate was a very basic code with introductory statements, but little less of value. I would say that based on these results, ChatGPT isn't really a viable tool yet for compliance officers to rely on to create or update a code document, since it lacks the ability to pull specific language covering key risk areas that are actually applicable to the company. The second use case I ran through ChatGPT is to see how effectively it could create an anti-corruption policy. I entered the statement, "Please draft an anti-corruption policy for me." Here I was more impressed with the results than what I got for the code of conduct. Again, within seconds, the application returned the text for an anti-corruption policy, which laid out a general company statement on anti-corruption and outlined and defined most of the main forms of prohibited conduct, such as bribery, facilitation payments, extortion, conflicts of interest, money laundering, and improper benefits. It also included general statements on reporting, investigation, discipline, training, and communication. What it didn't include was example scenarios and guidance on decision-making in light of potential wrongdoing or misconduct. So here, my overall impression is that ChatGPT is much more effective at providing basic risk policies than it is on a code of conduct. The output I received is definitely not an off-the-shelf solution to developing a risk policy, but it could work as a basic template. Compliance officers would then need to leverage their own expertise to outline key elements such as applicability, examples of misconduct, how to make the right decisions, and who to seek guidance from based on the unique structure of your company. The third use case I ran through ChatGPT is to see if the application could be used to generate due diligence findings on a company. As a former due diligence professional myself, I know the challenge of developing a comprehensive due diligence report on a third-party vendor or as part of M&A. One of the key challenges in conducting effective due diligence is accessing and compiling information from multiple resources, such as media checks, litigation checks, and reputational inquiries. I started by asking the application to generate due diligence on my previous employer, Refinitiv, and I got a one-page summary that likely pulled from the company's website and covered its main products, ownership history as part of Thomson Reuters, and the company's security measures. However, what it lacked was everything important in complex due diligence, such as sections on individualized risk, such as business stability, integrity, ESG, sustainability, key principal information, customer reviews, and any internet ratings or analysis that could impact decision-making. While I'm not an expert on artificial intelligence or machine learning, one limitation I'm seeing here with ChatGPT is that it seems to generate output based on its programmed understanding of a certain word or phrase. So in this case, due diligence may only include basic information about a company that can be readily or easily pulled from the most obvious media sources, such as a company website. As compliance professionals, when we use the words due diligence, we're covering several other facets of research that typically include things like company reviews, litigation records, reputational information, key principal information, and so on. I did not test how ChatGPT would perform if I requested it to carry out tasks on these individual forms of research, such as, "Please tell me what customers say about Refinitiv," or "Has the company been involved in litigation," or so forth. Using additional statements like these could help support my original request, but for now they are not encompassed within a single request to gather due diligence on a target company. Now, the next few use cases are all quite experimental in nature. I tried to stump ChatGPT with a question that required analysis beyond just pulling data from boilerplate templates and websites. So I asked the application, what are the geopolitical risks of doing business in Mexico? Interestingly, this question triggered a much slower response from the application, which took several minutes this time to display any text. However, the results I received were fairly impressive, which included general comments on things like political instability, corruption, changes in trade policy, heavy bureaucracy, and significant levels of government interaction. I guess I was successful in stumping ChatGPT, as the app stopped mid-sentence, telling me that specific risks vary by industry and location in Mexico, but then the app failed to complete the sentence or add any other information or examples. I next asked the company to do a full risk assessment on a pharmaceutical giant, which triggered an error from ChatGPT stating that, quote-unquote, something went wrong, please try reloading the conversation. ChatGPT was a bit more successful in drafting an anti-bribery and vendor questionnaire. It included some of the basic questions we commonly see, such as whether the vendor has policies and procedures in place, whether it's been investigated or sanctioned, or been involved in legal proceedings. It covers some other more generic vendor topics, such as how long they've been in business, whether they've been subjected to data or cyber breach references, and potential conflicts. I asked ChatGPT to help me investigate a report made to HR, and it provided several generalized steps to take, but of course couldn't help with the actual analysis given that the input did not include an actual or example complaint. These use cases demonstrate that ChatGPT is still in its very early stages, especially as it relates to its utility for compliance. But there's definitely some potential here. In my opinion, ChatGPT's greatest possible utility, at least in the near term, would be as a way to quickly gather intelligence for particular situations. While the application was stumped by my question about geopolitical risk in Mexico, it did provide some basic information that could be useful. In the future, as the application is fine-tuned, it's likely that it will be able to pull more information from a greater variety of sources and domains to provide comprehensive intelligence on doing business in a particular country. In addition, I can see ChatGPT having value as a tool for due diligence researchers. While the current output on due diligence is extremely limited, as programmers are able to fine-tune and broaden the sources of information that the application considers, it's more probable that the output also expands in quality and scope. Where ChatGPT may have less impact, at least from what we know now, is for creating compliance documents. Most compliance practitioners can quickly draft up the boilerplate clauses needed for any policy, as can ChatGPT. Where the application may struggle, even in the future, is in incorporating industry-specific information that could be useful to employees, such as descriptions of potential ethical dilemmas, the recommended courses of action, how to tell right from wrong, and who to seek guidance from. These are very specific company scenarios and require advice on how to use judgment and scrutiny, and this is where compliance officer expertise will continue to stand out. I hope you enjoyed this third episode of Ethical Crossroads on the utility of ChatGPT for compliance professionals. Don't forget to give the show a rating or a like, and make sure you subscribe and follow for future episodes.